And welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast presented by PrizePicks. I am your host, Chris Raybon, joined by my guy, Sean Kerner. And today we're going to go matchup by matchup through all of the games, talk about who we like for DFS, who we like for fantasy, and get a little player prop action going. Sean, how's it going?
Pretty good. I'm still recovering from that Dalton Schultz under 20.5 from yesterday. Apologize for that. But overall feel pretty good. Shave the beard. It's a fresh week.
I see.
I'm learning from my mistakes last week. I think I had like a brutal week and I was only down like 1 or 2 units. So I feel like I'm going to bounce back this week. Feeling really good though. How about you?
Yeah, I had a winning week if you take out the Bears-Browns game, which I went like 0-4.
Oh yeah, if I could take that out too, that'd be great.
I was like Justin Fields completely wrong on the game in general, completely wrong. I had Peoples-Jones under that. And also, yeah, I had too much KJ Osborne, what's his name? Quintez Cephas. So like there were some definite misses last week, but yeah, you know, season started pretty good, so we're on to week 4. All right, let's start with the Thursday night matchup. The Bengals 7.5-point favorites against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jamar Chase playing well. Sean, what's the prop for this one?
So the prop is Jamar Chase over under 65.5 receiving yards. And you know, I would set this around 69.5 if T. Higgins is out, and probably 58.5 if T. Higgins is in. So it kind of depends on whether or not he's playing. And I think you said it's closer to 60-40. I think it's probably 50-50 right now. So I think this is a pretty good number. So once we have a better idea of if Higgins is playing and this number is still up, I think that's when I'll move on it. But I think right now I'm in line with this prop.
Yeah, I have Chase for like 75 yards. He's my wide receiver 10 this week.
Do you have Higgins? You have, like you said,
I have Higgins playing about like 50% snaps, actually 50%.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
I just have Chase high. He's been playing really well, and he's been running. Like I don't think Higgins is gonna affect him too much because Chase's routes per dropback 94, 91, 100 the last 3 weeks. So Tyler Boyd went up to 100% last week. I think he knocks down a little bit more if Higgins is back because he can, Higgins will play in the 2 wide sets. But I think Jamar Chase he's arrived. Like he's proven, that his tough preseason and camp, whatever, was a fluke. And he's doing it when it counts. And he's going against the Jaguars. And I talked about this, their cornerback situation is bad. Now, last week it kind of, instead of manifesting for Hopkins, it was for Kirk and for AJ Green. But the point remains, like, this team can't cover anyone. So
and they just traded away CJ Henderson. So
yeah, who wasn't playing well, but it's still very weird to give up on a guy like that.
Yeah,
that soon for like and we love Dan Arnold on this podcast, but let's be honest, he's like the 30th best tight end in the league. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that was a head scratching trade, but just add it to the list of Urban Meyer's gaffes so far running this Jags team. DFS cheat code. I am going with Joe Mixon. Chase, I love Chase, but I think Mixon has that a little more of that floor and probably a little more ceiling because Jacksonville is a team that, we're in week 4 and they're 7.5-point underdogs to the Bengals. I'll put it that way. So, and Thursday night favorites when it's like a touchdown or more, they're like over 60%. So this is not necessarily like a trap game or a game where you're expected to go too far off script, which means a ton of work from Mixon. Jacksonville is giving up the 4th most fantasy points per game to running backs. We saw James Conner get right against them last week. And Joe Mixon back rush attempts. Joe Mixon over 90% for the Bengals. So he's my running back 3 this week. And I love him in 1-game DFS.
Yeah, so my initial projections, he's RB4 right now. And like you said, that his rushing upside is just massive here. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting 25 plus carries. The Bengals have been pretty run heavy this year to date. The only slight concern I have with Mixon right now is we saw his routes run dip a little bit this week. It was down to 47%. Now they controlled this game basically all the way through, but they did get rookie Chris Evans involved. I know we talked about him heading into the season. He could take over that Gio Bernard role as a pass catcher. So that might be a concern for Mixon's receiving usage long term. But for this matchup, it doesn't matter. I mean, he could score 2 touchdowns here on the ground, put up over 100 yards. So I'm with you here. I think he's a smash spot play this week. But let's at least monitor his receiving usage going forward.
Yeah. I mean, that game got so out of hand for Pittsburgh, and they were saying Pittsburgh kind of gave up.
It did look like they gave up.
I mean, that last play when Ben Roethlisberger threw like, all right, here I got a question for you. What was your favorite stupid 0-yard pass of the game?
The Dolphins safety.
Yeah, okay.
Don't even go there. Obviously, it's that one.
No, because because at least the Dolphins, it was like, no, it was so bad. It was so bad. But at least that was early in the game, and they had recovered and had a chance to win. Pittsburgh literally threw a screen pass on 4th and 10 with the game. Essentially, the game was going to be over.
Do you blame? It was Najee Harris, right? Wide open, dropped it. Do you blame him for not going you know what? I'm not going to get destroyed again for my 15th catch, and he just dropped it. It looked like he was done taking the abuse, and it would have been nice to see him catch that, but I think he was just exhausted. They have to figure that out there. So I think long term, that's probably the worst play. But the Dolphins safety play takes the cake. I'm sorry.
I mean, I was everyone looked mad on the play, so I wasn't sure who exactly to blame for it, because Jacoby Brissett looked mad that he had to throw that the play was called. Waddle looked mad that he got the ball. The coaches looked mad that they just gave up a safety. So whose fault was this? Who?
I was mad because I had +3.5. So just everybody was mad.
Oh yeah, I did too. No, I think I had plus.
We had the under too. That I feel like that's where it all just went haywire. That was the play that did it.
Yep, because that just. I mean, honestly, it was the under probably wasn't going to hit regardless. The Dolphins ended up covering, which is what I did say. I was like, I hope I get it. I should have a floor of hitting at least one of the two. I thought they were both good bets, but Derek Carr just throwing for 380 plus every week. It's going to be hard to hit unders. All right, let's go to the next game. The Washington football team against the Falcons. What's the prop for this one?
Let's go with something I think everybody would be interested in. That's, what are we projecting for Kyle Pitts this week? Right now I have his receiving yards at 45.5. Are you over or under that?
Kyle Pitts. Oh yeah, I'm right there, right at 45.
Nice. Okay.
So about 4 catches on the dot. He's my tight end 6. So, but it hasn't been, we haven't really seen that blow up yet. And this is, what we kind of talked about when people were drafting Pitts ahead of TJ Hawkinson, ahead of Mark Andrews, is that, these guys are a little more established. I think there's a little better chance of them, we're just it's all projection with Pitts. And so far that's what it's been. So, I mean, maybe this is the week. Washington's defense hasn't been nearly as good as expected, and they did give up, plays to Dawson Knox last week. But overall, I mean, I don't know. What is your outlook on Pitts? Is it just that we had too high of expectations, or is something else going on?
Maybe, because I mean, we're still not doubting his talent, but he only has a 14.4 target percent rate right now, which is not good. And if they drafted him just to play him as just every typical tight end out there, that's probably not the way they should use him. I thought, especially this week with Russell Gage out, they can get creative, line him up outside, move him around a little bit more, get him involved, and they just didn't. So I don't know if this is Arthur Smith's fault, and I don't expect you to have any Arthur Smith slander here, but I just feel like they're just not using him the way I thought they would. So he could still blow up. I mean, he's still, arguably the most talented tight end we've ever seen. Who knows? But just right now, he's not really involved in the offense the way I thought he should be. And they're a little bit more run heavy, so there aren't as many passing yards or targets to go around. But just right now, it's not clicking for Pitts. So yeah, it's looked really good. It's looking really good right now, taking TJ Hawkinson over him. But I think by the end of the year, we're going to see some massive game from Pitts. Who knows when that's going to be, though?
Oh, this is all the Arthur Smith slander. This has to be Arthur Smith slander. I mean, listen, I love the guy in Tennessee, but you have to go off what you see, and you can't, football, there's only 16, now 17 games a year. So you have to be able to like change your view in line with the amount of games we see. So, now we've seen, almost 20, almost 20% of the season, like 15% of the season or so. Matt Ryan attended air yards per pass attempt last season was 8.5. This year it's 4.2. That's Arthur Smith. Like that's the route trees. I know the line isn't good, but the line hasn't been good. And it's not been the worst line in the league. So to me, that's Arthur Smith, because it's not just Kyle Pitts that's underperforming. Where's Calvin Ridley?
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley's averaging under 10 yards. Calvin Ridley's this year's Juju Smith-Schuster. He's averaging like 8 yards a catch.
Seriously.
Like, are you kidding me?
So if I had a prop before the season started, which Falcons tight end will score the first touchdown this year? What odds do you think I would have set for Lee Smith?
Oh man, like what? Plus like 20 to 1 or something like that?
Oh, I was going to say 500 to 1, but yeah, maybe 20 to 1 would have been more appropriate. It couldn't have been Hayden Hurst either, could it? It had to be Lee Smith. So
yeah, or Parker Hesse.
Well, he was inactive this week.
Yeah,
but
he's
even Parker
played,
Hesse.
because Arthur Smith loves those keeps more tight ends active than wide receivers half the time. So yeah, it's not good in Atlanta, is what I'm saying. I bet the Washington football team to rebound here. I got him as an underdog. They're a slight favorite now, I think. In games where the Falcons are outmanned in the trenches, which they're going to be this week, it could get ugly. The floor is low. The ceiling is high because they have talent. The floor is low. Kyle Pitts, you're still starting him. There's nothing you can do about it. I still have him as a top 6 tight end, but it may not be pretty. Who's your DFS cheat code?
I'm going with Tyler Heineke right here. I think that, he's been a little bit under the radar right now. He's posted the QB 14 score in these 2 starts against the Giants and football team. Although, we probably shouldn't worry about quarterbacks facing the football team right now. This defense looks pretty average. So maybe these 2 matchups weren't as tough as I'm giving him credit for. But either way, he gets a pretty easy matchup this week against the Falcons. Their defense ranks 30th in DVOA this year. I think that's pretty in line with what we thought heading into the season. And we really haven't seen him hit his ceiling in terms of his rushing upside. So I think he could put it all together this week. There's a chance Curtis Samuel might return. So I just love the weapons around him. I think he has sneaky QB1 upside. So this is just a week that I think that I'm going to be pretty heavy on Heineke and DFS, and even like as a potential streamer in season long league. So I kind of want to get on before he has a ceiling game.
Yeah, he was in my top 10 in initial projections. Have to kind of like have him down to 11 now, but he, just because of his rushing upside and the matchup, it's looking pretty good for him in fantasy. I think you pointed this out. He's a big first read guy. So I think the floor is low still because he has that potential to throw like 2-3 picks any game. But it's also good for Terry McLaurin because Terry McLaurin's playing every snap and Heineke's going first read a lot. So
I don't mind if he can target Terry McLaurin all the game for all I care. That's a good guy to target. But also, I think Fitzpatrick's going to be out for a long time. And even when he does return, like I think Heineke could play fair enough to where, he just takes over as starter. Do you think there's potential in that? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, he really has to clean up some things because, again, Kurt Warner, I don't know if you've been watching the Kurt Warner film breakdowns. They're really good.
They're awesome. I saw the one on Daniel Jones and Jason Garrett. Great stuff.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah. Just like how he's making it tough. Like Daniel Jones is not playing super smart, but Garrett's just making it really hard on Jones.
Yeah, the scheme.
Everyone's
really
coming
helping.
back to the ball, never hitting guys in stride. But Heineke, his big issue is just they have the plays are out there. The scheme is fine. He just locks into the first read a little too much. I think he'll get better at that, but that's kind of the only concern with him. But no, I like him. I like Logan Thomas a lot this week. I think he's in a good spot. He's running over 90% of the routes. Again, tight end.
As always.
Yeah, that's what you need. So, and he got a touchdown overturned last week on a penalty. I think it was an ineligible man downfield or something silly like that. So, I think he's due for a big game. So, yeah. Let's go to the Lions and the Bears. And I know where you're going with this one. What's the prompt?
Have to. Well, we don't even know if he's going to start this week, but we have to figure out a Justin Fields projection, assuming he does start, because we were both pretty off on him. Not going to lie. We both projected him over about 240 passing yards. The market was way down on him around 204 yards, and even they were way too high. He ended with 68 yards. I mean, he got sacked, 9 times? So how do we adjust for this? And like, where do we project him? I'm just going to throw it out there. I have it closer to 194.5, and I think I might be too high, but it is against the Lions. So just where the hell are you on him right now?
This is so tough because they only ran 42 plays.
Yeah.
Week. So like that's almost impossible to happen again. I have it around 200. So, it's not a confident projection, but I just, it was such an outlier, not just in the sack rate, but in the amount of plays they ran, which is somewhat correlated to that, if you give them a normal, 60 plays or so, and which is still low, but he's going to get a lot higher, and they're going to improve. They're going to protect him more this week. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has a bounce back game. It's still the Lions, but right now this offense looks broken, and it really hasn't mattered who's been at quarterback. They've averaged 11 points of offense over the 3 games. 1.5 essentially with Dalton and another 1.5 with Fields. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions win this game, but that actually might work in Fields' benefit from because the Lions have the better quarterback at this point, and they probably have the better coaching staff. So yeah, that's where I am with him.
It makes Darnell Mooney unplayable, which sucks because I was super high on him, not necessarily for last week, but just going forward. But have to pump the brakes on him. I think he'll hit eventually, but just you can't trust him. And then Allen Robinson, can we even trust him this week? It's such a good matchup. You have to play Allen Robinson, but he's just a wide receiver 3 right now.
I have him as in initial projections. I have Robinson wide receiver 41, Mooney 53.
Yeah,
because Mooney's running more routes, by the way. That's the other thing. Mooney's running more routes than Robinson.
Yeah, but oh man, so you're saying just you can't even trust Allen Robinson right now either?
I mean, I can't trust Justin Fields. I can't trust Matt Nagy.
Right. Well,
I can't trust anyone.
It all goes hand in hand. I just mean if somebody has Allen Robinson right now, and you have Odell Beckham Jr. You're playing Odell Beckham Jr. Over Allen Robinson.
Well, Odell Beckham's already looked better than Allen Robinson this year.
Maybe that was a bad example. How about Cole Beasley?
What do I have Cole Beasley at?
I just think there's 30,
I have all 3 Bills receivers in the top 30.
There's a lot of guys that were being drafted way later than Allen Robinson that we would probably play over Allen Robinson. That's all I'm getting at.
It's week 4 now. Sucks. We can't just be oh my God. I have Dawson Knox as a tight end 9 this week. Woo! I'm looking at these Bills projections. Houston Texans defense is just raising those up. But yeah, this is. Listen, Detroit's going to have some issues at cornerback, but this is a situation where if you can avoid it, I think you avoid it, and if you're in DFS and the ownership, the rostership, if you're in DFS and the rostership is going to be low, maybe you take a shot on them, even Mooney, because again, Lions don't have great cornerbacks, but you're just talking about a floor in a season-long fantasy league. There's no reason to go there after what we've seen. Even just take out, just Fields alone, just these last 1.5 weeks. It hasn't been good. So it's pretty much, you're just risking a lot compared to some guys who are going to be out there with a quarterback who can function.
Yep.
That's really all it comes down to. And for that reason, for DFS, I'm going with David Montgomery as the cheat code. He's getting over 80% of the non-quarterback runs. Remember, they only had a low amount of plays last week, so kept his salary down because he didn't really do much. But he's dominating the backfield over Damian Williams, and that looks like it's going to continue. Last week, he ran around on 73% of the dropbacks. Williams is down to 17%. So over the last 3 weeks, Williams's routes run has gone from 44% to 24% to 17%. Montgomery, 44%, 61%, 73%. So he was already getting all the carries. And now they're realizing that they can't really afford to take him out, period, because he's with Allen Robinson kind of rendered useless. Montgomery is their offensive centerpiece. And again, this could turn around. It could just be Cleveland finally coming together on defense. We thought they would have a good defense, but I just don't think you can risk it with this Bears passing game right now. Fields tournament play in DFS, sure. Again, take advantage of these guys buy low. That's how you got to think about it from that perspective. But season long fantasy and kind of like a higher floor DFS guy, it's all about Montgomery.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a smart way to invest in a bounce back game by the Bears. Obviously, sprinkle in some Fields, Mooney, Fields, Allen Robinson stacks just to catch the market off guard. But yeah, Montgomery should dominate this game. And the Lions, they played well, but they're still a bad defense, 26th against the run in DVOA.
Mm-hmm.
They just cut Jamie Collins. Trey Flowers is questionable after missing last week. So this could be a blow up game for Dave Montgomery. I think they lean on him here to kind of like get back on track.
Yeah, that's just the kind of game script the Lions are going to play. They're going to feed their running backs. They're going to feed Swift. They're going to feed Williams. And it's just going to turn into one of those games. Like, I don't see them getting necessarily blown out a ton going forward. But they're still probably going to give up a lot of production, but it's just going to be those kind of like running back dominant games, I think, on both sides. So yeah. Let's go to the Titans and the Jets. What's our prop for this game?
Well, of course, it's Derrick Henry rushing yards. We're back to seeing him with 100+ rushing yard props. So all things are right with the world. Right now, it looks like it's 105.5. Are you going over that?
Let's see. What do I have for Derrick Henry this week? And what's, by the way, just like a great bounce back spot from the Jets, even though I don't think I'm going to touch them. But like, this is the spot where the Jets would bounce back if they did bounce back. If they don't bounce back here, it would be a problem. You said 105.5.
The 105.5.
That's the line of PrizePicks, right?
Yep.
I have it at about 107. So right in line with it. But I think an interesting one, just what do you have him projected for receiving? I have him at like 2.5 catches for 20 yards. So his receiving usage has been going up.
Yeah, I was going to note that his receiving usage is going up. He's never been a bad receiver. They just don't use him that way. And yeah, we're approaching 50% routes run rate and 23.5 target rate. Yeah, he could be. Imagine if Derrick Henry starts averaging over 3 catches.
Yeah,
which is what his underlying usage would dictate right now. So that's going to be scary. Then he's going to, and Christian McCaffrey's out. Like, he's the RB1 right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's the jammer. He's the jammer.
But I am like, I'm projecting him 108 yards here as well. So we're right in line there. But I'm hammering this over. Just this is a spot where AJ Brown. So this is also my cheat code. Let me just talk about my cheat code here. AJ Brown, it looks like he's week to week, so I'm assuming he misses this week. Julio Jones is banged up. Anthony Firkser doesn't matter, but he's still banged up too. So I think they just lean on Derrick Henry here. I think they'll be able to beat the Jets by leaning on Derrick Henry. And we have seen, dating back to last year, in Titans wins, he's averaged 144 yards per game. He's gone over this number 10 times in 13 wins. And in their losses, he averages 84 rushing yards a game. He's only gone over this number once in their 6 losses the past 2 seasons. So it's, when it comes to projecting Derrick Henry, if there's going to be a positive game script, you kind of have to ramp it up a bit more. So that's why I'm just crushing the over here. And I think this is a game where I would not be surprised if he gets over 30 carries here. And they just kind of let AJ Brown, Julio Jones, everybody kind of rest up, put it all on Derrick Henry here. And then hopefully get all the receivers back next week. So that's why I think this is a blow up spot for Derrick Henry.
So real quick, I gotta ask you about, people may be thinking of picking up like a guy like Westbrook-Ikhine. Any interest in him? I know you mentioned him on the pod yesterday. So just quickly your thoughts on him and Julio Jones, because Julio Jones situation is kind of bizarre. I don't think he was hurt. I think he got benched. So yeah, the question is why. I think like they're saying, like Vrabel's saying, it was just manage his reps. So that could be a blow up spot for him this week, because like once, with Brown injured, it's like, but I'm just curious as to your thoughts on like any of those guys. Like,
yeah, like Westbrook. The Julio situation is interesting. We're going to have to monitor that, obviously. I think Nick Westbrook could be interesting. He ran 80% of the routes last week. Chester Rogers is also a guy that might be interesting, but then we're kind of going into the weeds here, and this could just be a Derrick Henry game. Yeah. And when you play a guy like Westbrook or Rogers, you kind of need the Jets to put up some points to kind of force Tannehill into, throwing the ball over 30 times. So I just don't know if we're gonna have that volume. Unless you do think the Jets could score over 20 points here. I'm not as confident as you in a potential bounce back. So that's the only reason I urge caution on these ancillary receivers. Is just it could be either Rodgers or Westbrook, and either one, it's hard to get excited over either.
I mean, this is just one of those situations where, hold on, let me pull up the numbers. But similarly to how you see Miami kind of put up a decent game offensively, coming off the shutout, it's just a really good spot that you tend to see, just human nature. You get shut out, you get embarrassed. You're going to come back strong. And the Jets have played three, you played a Belichick defense, they played the Broncos, and they played a Panthers defense, which is looking, remember, I said this after week 1, like they're going to be a lot better than people think. And they're near the top of the leaderboard. So, but teams coming off a game where they scored less than 10 points are 62% against the spread the next week. Teams that coming off a 20 plus point blowout are 68% against the spread. So you look at the spread is 7.5, and you say there's a good chance that the Jets actually keep it closer than that in this.
Yeah, and right. And Zach Wilson had to go up against Bill Belichick and then Vic Fangio, like two really good defensive minded coaches. So yeah, this week he's going to have a big game this year at some point. So it could be this week. Another note about the Titans ancillary receivers, and we can move on, is I think we might see Josh Reynolds active this week. So he could enter the mix. He's kind of banged up heading into the season, so he's been inactive. So maybe now that AJ Brown's potentially out, Julio Jones, we don't know what's going on there, we could see Josh Reynolds enter the fold too. Just making this murky, and why I'm not really targeting any of these guys right now is because it's just difficult to project right now.
I think it's a smash spot for Julio. Julio's going to go off.
I would love to see that.
Like,
yeah,
it's going to happen. Like,
I'm hoping
he had a bad week 1, and then he goes off against Seattle. And then last week, Brown gets hurt. They're like, okay, we can't lose both of these guys. We're going to win this game against the Colts. Like, this is it should be a Henry game. But if anyone, Julio's the guy. You have to play Julio this week if he's healthy. And I think he's probably banged up. I don't think he got like benched, but they were just trying to preserve him. So let's go to the Browns and the Vikings. This should be a good game. You have Stefanski revenge game. You have Odell Beckham back. You have Cousins playing well. You have Mayfield playing well. What's the prop for this game?
Let's go with an Odell Beckham prop. Looked really good last week. All of his underlying usage was solid. So I kind of want to hear where you're projecting him this week. But I have his prop at 53.5 yards right now.
Yeah, I'm about 58 now. So I'm about 5 yards higher. I have about 4 catches in this game. My wide receiver 26 in initial projections, 85% of the route. So exactly the same as last week is what I'm projecting. But he could run more than that. I mean, to get 85%. I know that was a low volume game overall in the past game, but like you said, look good. And I'm already at the point where I'm playing Beckham over these guys that we just don't know if we can trust, like an Allen Robinson and guys like that. So remember, Odell Beckham, when he's healthy, is one of the best receivers in the league. You know how he's healthy? They also gave him a run play last week, and that they've been doing that a lot more. Yeah. Stefanski, they've been doing that a little more than they under the previous, Freddie Kitchens and whatnot, and in New York. So I have Beckham projected for 4 or 5 rushing yards. He could always throw a pass. Remember, they've done that with him. So
that won't impact this market, but he could have a big game. And this could be a sneaky shootout. Well, not sneaky. The total's 53. That's got to be one of the highest of the week, right?
This was a game.
Philly.
Yeah. Speaking of the total, this was a game. So Action Network, we track bet signals. If you have our Bet Labs subscription or whatever, and it kind of looks at like the sharps and what they're betting, and like there was a steam move on the over like 52 in this game, and those steam moves by whatever group or better is 17-5. This that we tracked. So like there's a lot of sharp action behind this game going over, even though these are two of the more slow-paced teams. Their offenses are both just really efficient and very good, to be frank. They're good offenses. So, and they can both run the ball. They're not going to get behind the sticks, even if the Vikes don't have Cook. So, I mean, this could be a like 7-catch, 110-yard game for Beckham if it shoots out.
Absolutely.
So, love it.
Who's your cheat code here? That like this might be a game I'm interested in stacking now, but who's your cheat code?
It's I want to go Beckham, but since we talked about him already, I'm gonna go back to Justin Jefferson. I still think Justin Jefferson's too cheap. In DFS, he's my wide receiver 4 this week. The Browns have been struggling. Denzel Ward hasn't been having that much success. Last week they get bailed out by just a bad game by the quarterback. But I love Jefferson. I think Thielen you could make a case for Jefferson, Thielen, or Beckham in this game, but I think it's one of those 3 receivers. Obviously, it's Madison again if Cook is out, but I just think that the pass games may be a little overlooked because both of these teams, you think they like to run the ball too. But I have Jefferson and Thielen both in my top 10 right now. I have Jefferson projected for almost 90 yards receiving and over 6 catches. So Justin Jefferson going with him for this week, but love Beckham as well. Just the floor is a little bit lower.
Yeah, you could have a Cousins, Jefferson, Thielen stack and send it back with Odell and just hope for a shootout. And like I said, at this point, I'm essentially just giving Thielen a touchdown every week. But Justin Jefferson, he's due for some positive touchdown regression. Thielen touchdown looked like both Jefferson and Thielen were wide open.
Yeah.
And Cousins just picked Thielen, but I mean, Jefferson's just gonna go off, and just it's nice seeing Cousins break out. I mean, how can you not by having Jefferson and Thielen? But I think just having the 3rd receiver in this offense, we talk about him every week now, KJ Osborne, I think it's helped open things up a bit. So this is a passing offense I'm okay investing in, and it runs through both Thielen and Jefferson. So love the idea of like a triple stack here.
And remember, we're getting Cousins at 1 Eastern, 20-9 against the spread as a 1 p.m. Eastern underdog. So
wow.
You're probably going to get an even better Cousins performance than we've gotten. Because remember, they started slow against Seattle. They were down 17-7 like midway through the second quarter, and they scored the last 23 points of the game. Did Minnesota. So
interesting.
Yeah, I just rewatched that one, but the offense looks good. And something interesting. Again, I love to read the beat reports and just kind of see what the narratives are coming out of each city after each game. It's interesting to see what the coaches are saying, what the what people are thinking. Justin Jefferson caught what was it, 7 balls in that game, or I know he got over 100 yards, 6 or 7 balls.
Oh no, yeah, 9 catches for
9. Yeah, 9. He got 9 catches in that game, and the beat writers are like, it was great that they won their first game. They still could be getting more touches to Justin Jefferson. And I'm like, okay.
I agree. I agree. He's too good.
Yeah. So he's still, I mean, that was, Trey Flowers, Justin, he was going to do some damage, but yeah, there's still a spot for him. But yeah, we're just playing all these guys on Minnesota at this point. Even Osborne, I think is still a tournament play. Conklin, you might get 3 guys a week receiving wise for Minnesota, especially in high total games like this. Let's go to Colts Dolphins, which is not a high total game. What's our prop for this one?
Let's go with Michael Pittman. Total receiving yards for Michael Pittman. And you were high on him last year. We kind of cooled off, and now he's starting to break out. Like, he's looked really good, seeing a massive target share. So where do you have him? He's a tough projection, especially going up against the Dolphins. But I have him at 50.5 right now.
Yeah, I'm about 55. No, 52.5. So right in line, 4.5, about a little under 4.5 catches. My wide receiver 38, but I have him playing pretty much every snap. It's just hard to break out when your quarterback is broken.
Yes. So you have him wide receiver 38. So he is on that sit start cusp.
Yeah, he's on that cusp only because he's still. It's really the touchdowns aren't there for Carson Wentz. And just a low scoring total. Like, what's the Colts implied total is
it's got to be
20.5.
42 or something, right?
Yeah, no, the Colts are 20.5. Like, Miami's a 2-point favorite. The total's 43. So I only have Pittman with around 0.2 touchdowns. He's always been a low touchdown guy. So it's still factoring in some of that from last year with the touchdowns per route run. I think he had 1 touchdown all of last year. So, and he got overthrown in the red zone by Wentz in this one. He could have had one, but that's the point. He's not getting them because the quarterback hasn't been good, and he wasn't getting them last year for whatever reason. He should have been, because T.Y. Hilton's not a big touchdown guy. So that's kind of what's knocking him into that questionable territory, is just he has a lower touchdown projection than most guys I'd project for 50, 55 yards.
Yeah, but he would be good red zone target. I mean, 6'4",
He would.
220. I think he's due for some positive touchdown regression. But yeah, I'm with you there. He's tough this week, but I think going forward in better matchups, I think he's kind of proven to be a wide receiver 3, even despite Carson Wentz playing like shit. He's just getting such a high target share, even though, Zach Pascal's sort of getting the touchdowns.
Yep.
He's really dominating these targets. So I think going forward, I'm pretty high on him, but yeah, probably sit him this week.
Yeah. I mean, he's a flex play, or even a low end wide receiver 3 play. Cause the difference between a wide receiver 34 and a wide receiver 38 isn't massive to where you're saying, oh, I need to bench him. But on average, yeah, he's not there yet. He needs to actually show he can catch touchdowns from this disastrous situation to like bump up into that wide receiver, 30, 28, 25 range, which he would be if he just had like a normal league average touchdown rate, but I have him below that. So that's what's kind of
fair enough.
Okay. For the cheat code, who you got?
I'm going with Jonathan Taylor here. I'm actually projecting this total to be closer to like 39. I think this is going to be a low scoring game.
We're not doing this again with the Dolphins now. No, I'm with you.
You were remember I said last week I had that Broncos total down like to 38.5. I wasn't messing around. So I was with you with your bet on Convince Me. Like there's certain games where I really think that it's going to be a low scoring game. This is one of them. And I just think both teams are going to play keep away, run a bit more here. Quentin Nelson looks like he's going to be out for some time. So I think, the market's probably going to be off Jonathan Taylor this week. Although Nelson does hurt his value, all that matters for running backs is volume. So that's why I'm still investing in Taylor here. He's due for some positive touchdown regression as well. He has 6 carries inside the 5-yard line, 0 touchdowns. They're talking about trading away Marlon Mack. That's why he was inactive last week. So they're pretty clearly just making this a 2-way committee now. So I just think this is a spot where the market's going to overlook Taylor, and I'm going to be all over him.
Yeah, man. And shouts out to Convince Me. Be sure to check that out at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on Sunday mornings. Simon Hunter, Sean, and I give our top prop, side, and total. And I believe, Sean, you and I haven't missed on a side and total yet through 3 weeks, right?
No, I lost the under on that Niners Packer game.
Oh, okay. So
for that 14-point last minute in the first half, I think it was. There was some brutal sequence of events for the under was looking really good until like a 1-minute turn of events. So, yep, my first loss.
Yeah, well, either way, we're doing pretty good. I haven't lost a side or total yet. I haven't hit a prop, but that's because I bet Tannehill twice. So don't mind that. I went 16-1 on props last year. Don convinced me. So I've already lost 3. I've already tripled my losses.
How many of those are Peyton Barber under 3.5 yards though?
That's Friedman. That was Friedman. I'm more like a Jeremy McNichols under like 11.5. That's like a little more civilized. But no, it's a good show. Check it out if you're into that stuff. Again, on the Action Network HQ Twitter handle, Sundays 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Let's go to the next game, which is the Panthers against the Cowboys. What's our prop for this one? Christian McCaffrey out, obviously.
So the most popular player in fantasy football this week, Chuba Hubbard. Is it Chuba Hubbard? I've heard it pronounced different.
I've heard Chuba.
Chuba Hubbard. Total rushing and receiving yards. So total scrimmage yards. Over under 72.5.
I have him out about 84, 85. So yeah, over. I have him. I mean, how many touches do you have? I have about 19 touches.
That's pretty high. I have 15 carries and 3 receptions. So yeah, I'm right there.
Okay. I have 15-5 and 3-6 or something. Like yeah. So I just have a half a carry more and a half a reception more.
I docked off several yards for the median projection, but we're not too far off is the conclusion here. And where do you have him ranked? I have him RB 15 right now.
RB 9.
RB 9. Wow.
RB 9.
No concerns about Royce Freeman.
I have Freeman. I have Chuba Hubbard getting 66%, Freeman 33. So I have him like what a normal, when you don't really know what's going on with the exact backfield share, and you just give the starter to, a 2-to-1 share.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's projects well. It's going to be a higher scoring game. Remember, the Panthers played the Jets. They scored 19 points and won that game by more than a field goal. They played the Houston Texans. They scored 24 points and won that game by 2 possessions. And in between that, who did they play? I'm forgetting one. Who did they play in the? Oh, they played the Saints, and the Saints put up 7 points of offense.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen the Panthers play a Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott. We haven't seen them play an offense like that. So, we could see them in a situation where, I think the passing game will be up. I think this could be a week where even though, Hubbard is no McCaffrey, like you could see, 4, 5, 6 catches out of him, but you could just see a higher scoring game, period. So, yeah. And Dallas, they're not great on defense. They're better than they were last year, but they're not great.
That's my only concern. We kind of touched on it. I think it was yesterday, but the thing with Mike Davis last year, he had literally nobody behind him. He was splitting touches with Trenton Cannon, and Rodney Smith for a brief period of time. So he dominated everything. Where Royce Freeman, if there's anywhere I'm worried about, is cutting into Hubbard's receiving share. I think you mentioned it. Doesn't Hubbard has 4 drops going
in his
back
career, yeah, like 3 in the
preseason.
Preseason and another one this in the red.
So that's just my concern. Obviously, that could be blown away this week. I agree. He could end up getting 4 to 5 catches, but just right now, I'm projecting him at 55% route share and Freeman at 25. So just a potential negative game script like that. That's my only concern. But at the end of the day, he's RB15. It doesn't matter. You're firing him up. But just that's the only difference between he and Mike Davis from last year is he does have some potential competition, whereas Mike Davis really didn't.
Yeah. And I mean, I have them at the same. I have 55, 27 and a half for those two in terms of routes. But I think it's probably also the Cowboys are coming up as a pretty good matchup for backs catching the ball. Just because they have more of an offense to where we saw, a guy like Boston Scott get in the game late yesterday and catch some passes. Kenneth Gainwell, like you could have a situation. The Panthers are 5-point underdogs. This could be the first time we've seen them trail. Dallas has given up 26 catches to running backs in 3 games, the third most in the National Football League. So I think that's why it's like his routes run are just giving him more upside. And again, still haven't, and he ran 51% routes last week to Freeman's 14. So we're actually being conservative by giving him like half.
Yeah, no, his underlying usage was good in that cleanup time. But I'm just saying we need to watch out for that. And, Dan Arnold, even though it's not that big of a deal, he's being traded away. That could be an extra target or two for the running back as a security blanket check down option. So that's another thing. When it comes to projecting the Panthers right now, and why I'm like, I already talked about it yesterday, but I'm super high on Terrace Marshall.
Yep.
Going forward with CMC out and now Dan Arnold gone, I think it's going to really open up targets for Marshall going forward.
And Tommy Tremble.
Oh God, we're done talking about tight ends on the Panthers.
All right. Let's go to my cheat code's Chuba.
Who's your cheat code? Yeah,
it's Chuba Hubbard. We don't need to discuss this. We just discussed it. He's a top 10 running back for me. He's cheap in DFS or cheap enough. He's almost certainly going to be in my cash lineups this week. Giants Saints. What's the prop?
So I love this prop. PrizePicks already has it up. And it's really hard to argue with it, but it's Jameis Winston's passing yards. It's a pathetically low 175.5. And, Jameis Winston has thrown for 378 total yards on the season. Whereas Derek Carr has pretty much passed that up in every single game this year. It's just so bizarre seeing Jameis Winston being projected this low, but I'm not touching this one. Are you?
I mean, you just threw it out there, so I have to touch it.
So I'm projecting this at 200, and I am not taking the over or under here. Like, it's impossible to project he or the Saints right now, so I'm just staying away. Is basically my conclusion here.
I'm just trying to see. Okay, so Taysom Hill had 3 games with at least 232 passing yards in his 4 starts. The only one he didn't was that Denver game where he didn't need to throw at 78 yards on 16 attempts.
Yeah, we don't count the Kendall Hinton game.
So would Taysom Hill have more passing yards than Jameis right now?
Well, he had Michael Thomas during that stretch. No,
Yeah, he did. He did.
I think
I
that's
so,
the,
yeah.
and I was kind of worried about this heading into the season and why I thought they should start Taysom Hill because they just don't have the option or, the weapons in the passing game. So just, why not have Taysom Hill offense to start the season? So it's been really bizarre. I think eventually Winston's going to break out for a 200 plus yard game, but it might not be this week.
Yeah, I'm at 207.5 in my initial projections. I mean, again, 175. That's like Justin Fields' number was what, 205 last week. So just to kind of put that in perspective, we were wrong on Justin Fields. We perfectly admit that. But just to give you an idea of like how far we've come with these models to where Jameis Winston is now 30 yards below Justin Fields. That like I'd lean over just on principle.
Yeah, this is like this. Yeah, and Taysom Hill's really not playing as much as I thought he would. So Winston's playing pretty. Yeah, that was like, yeah. I mean, he's taking
Taysom Hill ran like 42% of the routes last week and had like is getting like running back carries.
So that's why this line is basically Winston's playing the whole game. This is sort of like goes back to Sam Darnold back when the Patriots were the number one defense. I think that was 2019. This is like Sam Darnold at New England kind of projection here. Like that's how low this territory is. So there probably is value on the over, but I just cannot go there until I see some signs of life here.
I mean, the Giants gave up 264 and 2 touchdowns to Bridgewater, 336, 2 touchdowns, a pick to Heineke. And then, of course, Matt Ryan would get the lowest, 243 and 2 touchdowns.
Of course.
So, yeah, Arthur Smith slander. And, but, Winston, I would guess he ends up in the low 200s. That's where I'm projected. It's hard to, I mean, 175. I would love to see like the pass attempt projection for that. And like, you know what I mean? It's just, that's a ridiculously low number. So yeah, I would have to go over that. Who's your cheat code for Giants Saints? Should be kind of an ugly game that people aren't really looking at.
Yeah, that's my point here is probably stay away from this game. Obviously, you can never go wrong with Alvin Kamara here. And we really don't know who's suiting up for the Giants in their passing game. Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton are banged up. So it's really hard to cap this game. But, I'm going to get ugly here. I'm going to say Marquez Callaway. For some of the reasons that I was saying is, Jameis Winston's due to have a 200 plus yard passing game. And that's really been, that's what's been setting back players like Callaway or these tight ends. There just hasn't been the targets or yards to go around. So, if Jameis breaks out for a 250 yard game here, a guy like Callaway is going to be a GPP winner, I think. So while I'm not playing too much Callaway here, I think he's worth a dart throw. Even some of the guys like, Kenny Stills and like the Millie Maker or something like that, they're worth flyers just because everyone's going to be overlooking this passing offense, and I don't blame them. But, we're due for a big game from Jameis at some point. I don't know if it's this week, but I just kind of like to take flyers just in case in spots like this.
Yeah. This is, I mean, that's Teron Armstead is going to be out. It could be it's going
to be brutal. Oh, real quick though. What's your routes run projection for Callaway? Cause he did see a bit of a dip last week. Is that just noise, or do you have him back over 80% going into this week?
So his average for the season is about 80%. That's what I have him at now. His median is 88%. So, I could bump him up a little. Either way, I don't think you're starting him this week, like in normal.
Oh yeah, no, do not
fantasy.
Play him in season long. Yeah, sorry, I should have been more clear. This is only a GPP flyer. But yeah, do not start him in season long formats at all this week.
Yeah, but I'm around 80. And number one receivers, usually you're going to get closer to 90, 95. And his median is 88. So I might bump him up a little, but either way, he's going to be like, he's not passing like wide receiver 60 for me. So
yeah. And Alvin Kamara is the number one wide receiver in this offense. Let's be real.
Yeah, and Taysom Hill's the number 2.
Yeah. Taysom Hill's number 2. And
Juwan Johnson's number 3.
That's the state of the Saints passing offense right now.
Yeah, I think the more I think about it, this might just be a Kamara, Barkley, Daniel Jones. Like that might be the only. I might just go straight rushing. But no, you can't even go Barkley because New Orleans has a really good rush defense.
Yeah. Well, preview to our PrizePicks segment, but I am fading Barkley here.
Okay, let's go to the next game. which should be an interesting one. You have the Chiefs coming off of back-to-back losses, going to Philadelphia to face the Eagles coming off back-to-back losses. What's the prop for this one?
So I'm going with fantasy football's favorite running back to discuss. It seems like these days it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Total rushing and
Elaire. The H is silent.
Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. And I have his total scrimmage yards at 73.5 yards.
He was a tough one. I did like him. I ended up like throwing him in some tournament lineups last week because I felt like after everything,
Smart.
like we were getting too low on him. So now he's my running back 18. Let's see, scrimmage yards. I have him at about 71. So that's like yard or two. What you said? What did you have him at?
73.5.
Yeah, so we're pretty much in line there. Have him about 17 touches or so. He's my RB18. So yeah, he's kind of they stayed with him. He's been having some struggles, but they've stayed with him. And that's a good sign. He's obviously the most talented back in that backfield. Have another high total game. Although Philadelphia, those games tend to go under. I don't know what the exact number is, but I know Lincoln Financial, the unders over the last 5 years or so have just hit at some
54.5 right now.
Yeah. Okay. So a Philadelphia total that opens at 44 or higher since 2015 at Lincoln Financial. The under is 30 and 12, 71%. So,
Yikes.
and some of that is, Carson Wentz, but this is multiple coaching staff.
Face it.
But but that's before Wentz even came. That's multiple coaching staffs, multiple quarterbacks. Because remember, Wentz has been hurt half the time. And it's just one of those places where just, I don't know, the games seem to get ugly. So maybe last week was the week to own Edwards-Helaire in DFS. Maybe in Philly. I mean, they're still a pretty good run defense, I would think, but they did look bad against Zeke. So maybe that Brandon Graham injury is hurting them, a lot. So yeah, he's there. I think last week was a better time to play him. Now people are going to kind of be on him a little more. Let's see, for DFS cheat code.
Who are you going with?
I am going with Jalen Hurts. I'm going with Jalen Hurts in this one.
Nice.
We saw what can happen to Hurts in a trailing game script, and that's that they leave him in. They even trotted Jalen Hurts out and had him dropping back with like 30 seconds left in a 20-point blowout last Monday. So he's going to get all the garbage time if the Chiefs actually do finally win a game by more than one possession. But either way, they're allowing the third most points to opposing quarterbacks. So Jalen Hurts, he's getting experience on the fly. He's going to make some mistakes. He made me look smart with my prize pick call from yesterday. I picked over a half an interception, and he like his second or third throw of the game, just right into the hands of a Dallas defender. But I think it's a good spot for Hurts. Tyreek Hill's routes runner are down a little. He's still really expensive. Kelsey's going to do what he has to do. I think that Philly defense is going to give up plays to the tight end. So I still like Kelsey over Hill this week. But again, Edwards-Helaire, I think it was last week for him in terms of DFS. Still a top 20 running back, but the guy that stands out is still Jalen Hurts, and he's still pretty cheap. He's like over 1,000 cheaper than Mahomes, and if Mahomes goes off, Hurts is gonna have to go off. So I love the correlation of just kind of getting arbitrage on Mahomes with some Jalen Hurts this week. So yeah, don't go away from him is my point. Top, I think. Let's see, he's my QB3 this week. So. Love Jalen Hurts.
Nice. Yeah. Are you worried about his floor at all? Like in-game benching? Do you think that's too soon?
No, they're not benching this. Like they had him out there with, again, in the garbage time of a blowout. They're not benching this guy. Like, and it's not
Hopefully
really his fault. He's playing well.
Yeah.
Like it's not his fault, man. Like yesterday they gave up 41 points.
Yep.
He threw a couple of picks. One of them, the receiver fell down. The other one was a good pick. And Quandre Diggs. What's his name? What's the cornerback's name for Dallas? What's the dig?
Not Quandre Diggs. Drawing a blank. Trayvon? Yeah, Trayvon.
Trayvon Diggs is playing out of his mind.
Yes.
So I think they want Hurts to get these reps, and this is the perfect time for it. They're at home, so yeah, and he's still gonna run. He's gonna run Love him. I'm not worried about a bench. Not for him. I think there's like Justin Fields. If he starts, that would be a lot more, I think, likely that he would get benched.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Let's go to the next game, which is the Texans and the Bills. Huge spread in this one. What's our prop?
The prop is Brandon Cooks, total receiving yards over under 72.5.
Yeah, so I was kind of on the under for him last week. I just thought, Davis Mills, not many yards, but his target share has just been absurd. And he's making plays. I mean, I love how he's just laying out, diving for balls, this and that. But my mean projection is 73. So my median is still about, high 60s, 67.5 or so. So I'm still going under. He's my wide receiver 24, though. So, he's still very much in play. No matter if you have him, you're starting him no matter what. But my projection for Davis Mills just is always going to kind of lower, everyone around him. I still have Mills as the QB 32. So Mills, I have it only about 200 yards passing, so that's the kind of guy that I can see having like the lowest
against the Bills.
Yeah.
That's why. I said, I have him right around 200. I mentioned last week that Mills, if you look at his college stats, according to PFF, he had a 71% first read rate in college, which is by far the highest of this draft class. So I figured he'd kind of lock in on Cooks. And it could result in a couple interceptions this week. But if you're playing Cooks or taking his props, you don't really care about that. So he's going to see the targets. He has a 32% target rate on the season. I think he'll be able to maintain a 26 to 27% share with Mills under center. But this is a tough matchup. So I would probably lean under here, but I'll stay away because just, would not surprise me if they just keep forcing the issue with Cooks. And I think he's probably one of the most underrated receivers in the league. He's shown that this year. So I'm staying away from this.
Oh, you're still burned over being a week too early on the Terry McLaurin under, huh? Because McLaurin only got four catches against the Bills last week.
I've been a week early. Like all of my losing bets have looked really good the next week. Oh man, yeah, that hurts. Yeah,
as long as you got the bankroll for it, because that's some people they're a week early and they just can't bet again.
That's true.
But you can overcome it. You got it.
Stick with me, people. Even when I have a bad week, it's only like down 2 units. Like, come on, bankroll management.
Yeah, man. No. I mean, Cook has a high ceiling. I would not hesitate to play him in a DFS tournament or start him as my wide receiver 2 in fantasy in season long. But the prop, I think, it's about right. I'll put it that way. It's in that range where I'm staying away. Yeah. DFS cheat code.
I'm gonna just keep it simple here. Since this should be a blowout, I'm going with Zach Moss. I think this is the perfect time to take him. He could be popular. He could be overlooked. I think people might be interested in Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, Dawson Knox stacks. Like, you can't go wrong with anybody here, but taking a Zach Moss and Bills defense stack could be some nice leverage against the field. He overtook Devin Singletary last week, and I would not be surprised if he scores a couple touchdowns here and gets 15 plus carries in this game. So I think this is the time to play a guy like Moss. I'm not getting cute here, although I probably will have some Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Beasley stacks, but I think the way to get some leverage on the field is go all in on Moss here.
Yeah, he had more carries than Singletary. Game script sets up to be the same. So, I was down on Moss, but once I heard he was scratched because of more of an injury than straight up, okay, he was benched, it made more sense because it just didn't make sense why you would scratch a guy like that, coming in. I think he's just probably going to be what we thought he was going to be before the season. It'll be a frustrating situation some weeks, but this week, I mean, you have such a high spread. I think it's 16.5. In favor of Buffalo, that there's little chance of having a game script go against Moss in this spot. So this is probably one, maybe even the best week all season to play.
Has to be.
Moss. Yeah.
Yes. Or if Singletary misses time in the future, that would be another time, but that might be too obvious. Like, this seems kind of under the radar obvious. That's why I'm going all in here.
Yeah, I like it. Cardinals Rams. What's our prop for this one?
Well, our favorite receiver to discuss offline right now is DeAndre Hopkins. Total receiving yards, it's up at PrizePicks right now. It's 80.5. I think it's too high. I'm projecting him closer to 70.5. And I think once I really do a deeper dive, I might go even lower. But where are you on this? Are you under 80.5?
Oh yeah. And I thought I wasn't going to
Yep.
be, because, we talked about this and I was like, I'm not going to overreact, but my initial projections, I'm at 70 as well. And he's right around my wide receiver 20, which I think might be the lowest he's ever been. Now, I don't necessarily think he gets shadowed by Ramsey, but he could. That's always in, the kind of the range of outcomes here. Ramsey's been playing that star position, so he hasn't necessarily shadowed. He's just been closer to the line of scrimmage, but this is a matchup. DeAndre doesn't move around a lot. He's usually going to line up at that same spot on the left side, I believe it is. And so he's shadowable. He's definitely shadowable in this spot. So I'm going under. I'm going under for Hopkins. The disappointing thing was Rondale Moore's routes dropped down to 38% last week. Now you made the good point, off air, that in their one close game, he was closer to 60%. So hopefully that's the case. But remember, Arizona was behind for Jacksonville for into the second half. So the fact that he still didn't see a ton of usage last week does worry me a little bit. Antoine Wesley even got into the action. Coming off the COVID list. So, maybe we have to, pump the brakes a little on Moore here. AJ Green's been a little better than expected. I'll give him that. And Christian Kirk's just been amazing. So there are some options here on this Cardinals receiving core, but I'm down on all of them compared to where I would have their baselines a normal week. I know the Rams gave up a ton of production to Brady last week, but Kyler Murray is not Tom Brady. He can run if there's nothing up there, and it's just a different kind of quarterback. So this could be kind of a tough week to dissect the Cardinals pass game. For my cheat code, I'm going Cooper Kupp. I mean, I think he's still too cheap.
We were the few experts that really had him in the top 3, which is surprising to me.
I saw that. Yeah. So he was like, because, I usually start with the consensus on Fantasy Pros, like just to make sure I have rankings up, and then I import mine, and like,
same.
Yeah. So he was like the wide receiver 11 when I had imported, and I was like,
so weird.
How?
Yeah.
Like, I would have had to just throw up my model and build a new model to get him to knock down a wide receiver 11.
Exactly.
But then again, maybe I should after the Justin Fields fiasco.
No, that's an outlier. He's an outlier.
That's what we tell ourselves, huh? Cooper Kupp seriously is very good at football. He has a coach that is very good at football and a quarterback that is very good at football. These things add up to my wide receiver 2 this week, behind only Devontae Adams. And Kupp's routes run in the first 3 weeks, 192%. So he's getting the usage. And remember, he's a guy that he's turned himself into a number 1 receiver that he can straight up beat coverage, but he was always the guy in Sean McVay's offense that was getting schemed open the most. McVay was actively scheming him open. So there's just like all of these things that create a huge, super high floor for him. Just in this offense, and you're going up against a Cardinals team that struggling at corner. They don't have a ton of guys in that secondary, and could be a very high scoring game. Could be a very high.
Yeah, at this point, Cooper Kupp is a permanent cheat code. He is just so good. If Devontae Adams, it looked like he may have suffered a concussion. If he was out this week, he'd be my wide receiver 1 in a heartbeat. I remember heading into the season, I was just saying both Rams receivers are being overlooked because this offense is going to be taken to a new level with Matthew Stafford. I did not envision this. So I ended up with, Kupp in about half my drafts and Robert Woods in about half my drafts. So half those teams are looking really good. Where the other half with Robert Woods, like, what are we doing? Like, I feel like we're going to be going up and down on him all year long. But what do you take away from last week? Is that just who he is now? Just kind of like a high ceiling, low floor guy, which is kind of weird to say with Robert Woods.
I saw him as my wide receiver 29 this week. He ran around an 85% of the dropbacks, 97% the week before. I think it's the same old Robert Woods. Remember we had this happen.
Wait, wide receiver 29? That's super low, no?
Low? No.
Yeah, I have him wide receiver 20 right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's behind Brandon Cooks for me. He's behind, I'm trying to see I have Mike Williams wide receiver 18, maybe. So, there's
Oh, I
this.
have Mike Williams like my wide receiver 12. It's not
Oh,
even
okay. So
close with
yeah, no,
that.
but I'm trying to look for the guys. I'm looking for the guys that aren't usually like in there, in the top 20. But no, I mean, I think Woods is, again, he's not always been a huge touchdown guy, and Cup has been.
That's true.
So I have Woods, 4.5 catches, about 50, a little over 50 yards, and about 0.35 touchdowns. So yeah, he's my wide receiver 29. But Cup, I mean, Devontae Adams is playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I have to kind of look into it more. I mean, I know Pittsburgh hasn't been as good, and Jamar Chase kind of lit him up, so I'll probably as my wide receiver 1. But just based on the game script, this total is about a touchdown higher. You could make a case, Cup, for the wide receiver 1 this week.
Yeah.
So,
yep. And like you mentioned yesterday, Tyreek Hill unfortunately isn't a part of the conversation. I think Tyreek still has probably the highest ceiling, but just when it comes to just medium projections, I think Cup and Adams, it's kind of like a tie for wide receiver 1 right now.
Yeah, Hill's down to wide receiver 3 for me, and he'll be unhappy to know that Demarcus Robinson passed up Nicole Hardman in routes run last week.
Oh my God!
Just throw that one out there.
Now they signed Josh Gordon. It's the Nicole thing. Just never going to happen, is it?
Yeah. It'll happen when we least expect it. So
exactly. That was like Devontae Parker,
right?
Constantly thought he was gonna break out, then I gave up, and then he has a career year. That's gonna be Nicole.
I mean, hey, at this point, we don't. What do we know about? Because like, wasn't it Adam Gase responsible for breaking Parker out, or when he left Adam Gase, or was it? I forget what happened. No, it was when he left Adam Gase. But now the Jets wish they had Adam Gase. They were averaging like twice as many points.
Wow, you went there, yeah.
Oh, I'm going there. It's week 4. We got data now. We can make these hot troll takes.
3 weeks of data is something. I mean, it's not enough, but it's better than nothing.
Speaking of data and weeks and Seahawks Niners. So I said this yesterday, but I just want to get this on record again. My theory on Kyle Shanahan: he hates his team. Like Kyle Shanahan, he wants to be Belichick, because remember they're like really close. They talk. They have like this man crush on the same quarterback. Like Shanahan hates his team. They get in the red zone, he takes Garoppolo out. Brandon Ayuk benched. Get all these other scrubs in behind him, and then Trey Sermon. Oh, we're gonna play him at running back, but we're gonna find every way we can not to give him even like 50% of the carries, to the point where we're giving our fullback 70% snap rate and 5 carries and like more routes. So like Kyle Shanahan hates his team, and that's why I'm interested in the player prop you're gonna throw out.
Yeah, so let's talk about one of those guys. Brandon Ayuk, total receiving yards this week. Very tricky to project. And yeah, he might hate him, and he kind of benched him week 1, but he's been seeing routes and just not seeing targets. So we have to be fair here and say some of the blame has to be on Ayuk. So I'm projecting him for 41.5. I think he has a high ceiling going forward, but right now I just can't trust him enough to project him over like 45. So I'm at 41.5 right now. Where do you have him?
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. Like,
okay,
right, exactly there. He's my wide receiver. He's up to 35 for me though, so he's in there. He's getting in there. About 80% route to run this week. Debo has looked so good. Debo, you know who Debo reminds me of? Odell Beckham. Debo has that like where he's just making contested catches that he shouldn't make, for like being like not like the biggest guy, and he's not just a yak guy. So I think Debo, he's still the guy here, but Ayuk in this matchup, you're gonna get maybe half of your routes or so on Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers is gonna play like 10 yards off. So I fire Ayuk up this week. Like I'm starting Ayuk over Allen Robinson.
Yeah, you have him in that low end wide receiver 3 range. I think it's time you can trust him if you don't have better options. I don't know. He hasn't impressed me enough to really trust. So he's my wide receiver 44 right now, I believe. So I'm still of the mindset like you rather have him go off on your bench than kind of have one of these like first 2 games. So I'm not quite sold, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes off, here. I'm just being a little bit pessimistic on him because, like you said, Kyle Shanahan hates his players. So you just can't trust anybody right now. That's why I think I'm probably factoring in his low floor a bit too much here. But he's definitely getting close. Like, you drafted him as a wide receiver too. He's obviously not going to produce that right now, but he's getting close to being startable again. We knew this would happen at least.
I know you like to watch, the All 22 film. Just go watch Seattle cornerbacks and you'll bump them up. Like, it's just no resistance. There's just zero resistance in that Seattle secondary. So, and again, I expect Seattle to play well in this game. So I think it will be a trailing game script for San Francisco, actually. I know they're favored, but Russell Wilson doesn't often lose 3 games in a row. Pete Carroll, for that matter. So I think Seattle will be in this one. DFS cheat code. Who you got?
That brings me to my cheat code. It's Russell Wilson here, coming off 2 losses. I think this is a matchup where, the market will probably overlook them. They have a pretty average team total right now at 24.5. This isn't an easy matchup necessarily, but, the 49ers cornerback room has been dealing with injuries and shuffling things around. So this is a potential blow-up. Every matchup is a potential blow-up spot for Russell Wilson. So I like targeting him when the market's overlooking him. This could be a game where you stack Wilson, Lockett, and DK Metcalf. Like you said, like this could be a game Seattle wins easily. And I think it's gonna be a higher scoring game.
I didn't say easily. I didn't say that. Now,
saying,
Seattle doesn't win games easily. That's why you take them as underdogs. They don't win any game easily.
I meant I could easily see them winning this game. I probably shuffled up those
don't
words
throw that.
Like
that was not.
Yeah. Sorry.
Don't put me behind Seattle winning easily.
Yeah, no, I meant they could easily win this game. It's week 3. My mind's already it's week 4. See, things are just flying by right now. But either way, I'm seeing it. Russell Wilson breakout game here. Probably not going to be rostered on enough teams for me to pass up. So yeah, getting some leverage here on Wilson it's the right time to do it.
Yeah. So there's only 2 quarterbacks that have had 35 qualifiers that meet the drop back requirement for PFF.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 3 that have not made a turnover worthy play yet, and Russell Wilson is one of those 3. So it hasn't been like amazing for him at all times. A lot of the touchdowns have been long touchdowns. He hasn't. I don't think he's playing that well. Like, if he doesn't get a long touchdown, I think he's like going deep almost too much, which we love, but I think he needs to take we do, but like he needs to, because like they're not getting drives going at some points. That's why I think, watching a couple of weeks of film, desperate times for San Francisco. For Seattle, San Francisco always kind of underperforms when like we expect them to win. I think this is just a good spot for Russ. So I totally agree.
And Chris Carson has 3 rushing touchdowns the past 2 games. That's been great for me. I have him in pretty much every league like usual, but he's not going to score 3 touchdowns every 2 weeks. So I think Russell Wilson's due for some positive touchdown regression, take away rushing touchdown or 2 from Chris Carson. So I agree. I just think, especially coming off 2 losses, Russell Wilson's going to come out firing here, and don't overlook him.
Yeah, he's going to, I think you mentioned earlier, he's going to pick apart that cornerback group of San Francisco. Yeah. And they played man coverage more than you would think. I mean, maybe they dial it back because Russ, you don't want him running on you, but they play man coverage more than you would think for a team with their cornerback situation. So, yeah, good matchup for Russ. Let's go to Ravens Broncos. Still kind of surprised to see the Broncos favored in this game. Even I know the Ravens have struggled a little. Broncos have played really well. Broncos have played the 3 worst teams, maybe the 3 worst teams in football, or at least 3 of the worst 5 in the Giants, Jets, and Jaguars. So could be kind of a different Broncos look than we've seen. So what's our prop here?
So who's going to have more rushing yards in this game? Tyson Williams or Latavius Murray? Because I'm projecting them basically tied at 39. So who are you going with?
Let's go with, let's see, hold on. I gotta find my prediction. I have Murray. Oh, whoops. Let me say it again. I have Williams getting 3 more yards than Murray. So I have Williams right around about 38 and Murray around 35. And that's because
are either ranked inside your top 35?
No. Williams 37, Murray
Yeah.
44. So it's this Broncos defense is good. Lamar Jackson may have to do it himself, and it is turning into kind of this dreaded committee. And you kind of worried about this when they signed all those veterans. Like,
Yeah.
would Williams' workload hold up? And his carry share of non-quarterback runs went from 52% in week 2 to 33%. Murray went from 36 to 47%, and Devontae Freeman even got 20%. Now, most of them were early. They weirdly, like Freeman, I may have like started the game. I got to go back and watch it, but I know he had 3 carries in the first quarter, I think it was. It didn't really go well, so maybe that dropped back. But
I think it's a two-way committee. Freeman may step up at some point, but it like you said, I think that the tide has shifted where I think Murray's sort of the lead back, and then Tyson's sort of the pass catching back, which is not the role we want in this offense. And it's really bizarre. Latavius Murray's been running routes. He's averaged like a 25% routes run share, but he hasn't seen a target yet. So just goes to show Lamar is going to pull it down and run as opposed to dump it off to his running back. So I think right now, I think Latavius Murray's trending to be the running back to have here. But it's too tricky to trust anybody this week. Hopefully we learn more after this game. But I agree. This is a tough matchup. I'm fading both backs this week.
I would love to see like next gen stats, like the speed of a football from Lamar. Let's say he's going like dumping it off to the running back. Is Lamar faster than having the ball have to go in the air, the running back catch it, turn up field, and then run? Like Lamar can probably get to the spot that running back, because what's the running back? It's like 7 yards per catch on average, something like that. Around 7.
Yeah, around 7.
Yeah, like Lamar Jackson can probably get to the spot that the average running back would get to faster himself than throwing it to a running back who's already like closer to the sideline and further down the line of scrimmage. Like that's how crazy fast Lamar is, and probably why he doesn't dump it off much.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be interested in seeing that. Obviously, it's probably break even.
Yeah.
So that's a good line. But yeah, it just goes to show that being the pass catching back, being that receiving role is not valuable in this offense, and that seems to be where Williams is headed.
Yeah. It's a full blown committee. I don't even know if they might not even be looking at it like straight up roles. It's just kind of, this is a committee.
Just random.
Yeah. Just whoever wants to check in, whoever just check in. Let's get it. Our running back is Lamar. My DFS cheat code in this one is going to be Mark Andrews. Like I think Marquise Brown, they're going to try to get him going, but Denver, they play that like, another team that plays that like Staley Fangio defense. Marquise Brown did, come open a lot last week. So you're still, when you watch the film, even though he wasn't super productive, I think you still worry about him too. And he's a little more dangerous. Andrews is obviously dangerous too, but I think Andrews will be the more productive guy again for Baltimore this week. So going Andrews as the cheat code. Broncos, I just, it's just tough to know what to expect. I think Sutton's in a good spot, but Baltimore, they are getting healthier in the secondary, and then their run defense should be better this week. So with the COVID situation, so yeah, going Mark Andrews here.
Love it. Yeah, he was my cheat code last week, and I said he's due to blow up. He had 5 catches for 109 yards, but still no touchdowns on the season. And if there's a tight end outside of Gronk that probably has the best odds of a 2-touchdown game, it might be Andrews, right? So
yep.
I mean, we haven't even seen his true ceiling yet. So again, like he's yet to have that true Mark Andrews breakout game quite yet. So I'm with you here as well.
Steelers Packers. Steelers bounce back spot, perhaps. What's our prop?
So we have to go with Najee Harris total receptions here, and I feel bad because I'm not going to give you the extra half here. I'm going with 5 exactly. Because that's my projection. But I don't know. You might be like way over that. I hope you're not way under that. But where do you have him? How are you projecting him after that?
You should have given me the extra half. I have him at 5.9.
Okay, I'll give you the extra half then. 5.5.
I mean, listen, I don't, again, I don't really mess around with projections. Like I just like project the routes for running backs. And, his targets per route run is just whatever it was this year with some regression factored in.
Yep.
And yeah, I have him doing pretty well in this category. And listen, the Steelers, you also, maybe it goes down a little bit if I give, Juju, Deontay a full route tree. I have Juju 70%, Deontay 60% right now, because they're gonna practice, but we still don't know. So I'm treating them both as like, questionable. If they go up, I think Najee goes down a little, but I mean, this is a guy who's run 85 around on 86, 83, and 89% of the dropbacks in the 3 games. He was out there in garbage time, and Big Ben still hasn't really been able to get the ball down the field. So, and this is Aaron Rodgers you're going against on the other side. So it's not going to be, it's likely not going to be a positive game script. I think Pittsburgh may hang close and surprise some people. In this one. Mike Tomlin's great in these spots, underdog. Everyone's doubting him, counting him out, going on the road. Like this is where Pittsburgh flourishes. But if they're going to flourish, it's going to be on the back of Najee Harris. So
yeah, and to be fair, I'm probably projecting Juju and Deontay for more routes than you. That's probably why I'm a bit lower right now. So we're probably in agreement here. And like I said last week, that the offensive line is so brutal that they're going to have to start dumping it off to Harris to kind of be the extension of the running game. But I never expected 14 receptions. So this really caught my attention. And yeah, it would not surprise me if he becomes like a 5.5 to 6 receptions projection going forward. I mean, just massive ceiling with Harris going forward. I mean, imagine if they actually start being able to run the ball too. He's already a top 5 back, I think, in my projections, but just, the only thing holding him back right now is sort of Big Ben and the offensive line.
Yeah, he's RB4 for me. And he's like not Christian. He's like Alvin Kamara without efficiency. It's like, you get like those 10, 12, 13 carries, you get a bunch of catches, just no rushing efficiency though to speak of.
That's exactly who he is. That's a perfect description.
Looks good out there though, I must say. He looks good.
Yeah.
He's doing all he can. He's doing what he can.
Yes.
Who's your cheat code?
So I'm going to go off the grid here and go with Pat Freiermuth. Again, we don't know if Deontay or Juju are going to play, but I think Freiermuth's going to blow up at some point. And it's disappointing to see his routes run dip down to 35% last week off of 55, but he was still productive. I think he had like 3 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown. Eric Ebron did nothing with his 60% routes run share. So this is a game where they kind of make Freiermuth the number 2 or number 3 target. So I like investing on him. And, tight end has been kind of a disaster lately. You cracked me up yesterday when you said Dawson Knox was the tight end 3. And all he had was like 3 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. Like it doesn't take much to really go off at tight end. So I just think he's a sneaky tournament play here. Again, we'll have to see the injury report later in the week, but I love getting rookies before they break out, and he's due to pass up Ebron here any week now.
Who's the tight end? Okay, in standard, Zach Ertz was a tight end 3. In happy, like Zach Ertz is making an appearance back. Like Zach Ertz is back. Like that's how crazy tight end has been.
It's been crazy. And Lee Smith is out producing Kyle Pitts, like just a disaster.
Guess who was the tight end 1 in half PPR?
Well, obviously you're gonna bring this up. Obviously it was Dalton Schultz. I
bet the under is prop too. I did it too. So I'm not making fun of you. I'm just
that was the funny. 2 touchdowns. I mean, he barely went over. I mean, he doubled the projection, but I mean, let's face it, he was tight end 1 because of the 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, 6 catches, 80 yards. I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah,
things are crazy at tight end. Let's go to got 2 games left. Bucks Patriots. What's our prop?
It's okay. So this is my favorite prop of the week. Tom Brady total passing yards over under 324.5. And I'll let you go first.
Under. I have him like 295. I don't think they're gonna have to throw as much. It's New England.
Oh, I don't care. This is so I'm in alignment here. I have it like 325, but I might be around like 355 by the end of the week. And hear me out. Okay, so this is one of those times where I remember Kobe Bryant's last game in DFS. I had 100% shares. I hammered the over on all of his props, and I took home a couple GPPs. I was all in on that. Week 17, Justin Jefferson. Remember I was telling you, Freeman, I would set his prop like 115.5. Like he's going for the record. This is one of those times I think we have to go beyond our projections a bit. Tom Brady absolutely wants to go like, I don't know, over 400 yards. Like he's going over this. This is one of those times. And he's also 68 yards away from passing up Drew Brees for the most passing yards all time. So he's at New England. He's going to set the record for passing yards. Like we can't set this line high enough, in my opinion. So that's my case for going with the over here.
That's interesting.
And we were talking before we got on, like when to kind of go away from our models and projections a bit and, you know, go with the psychology, our intuition. This is that prop, damn it.
Okay. I didn't even think about it. I just thought Brady was going to want like the win. Like he already won the Super Bowl. What does he really have to prove?
I think obviously he wants to win here, but we're talking about Tom Brady here.
Okay. Well,
do you think he's gonna be content handing it off to Ronald Jones in the fourth quarter when
Ronald Jones doesn't play, first of all,
right?
So
fine, Leo
probably
Fournette.
not.
Either way, Tom Brady is an exceptional athlete. He's the greatest of all time. He's gonna want to make a statement here. I don't think 280 yards and a couple touchdowns and a win is gonna be enough for him. I think 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like he's gonna go all out here.
Okay,
absolutely.
I mean, I was going to go with, so we don't know what's going on with Antonio Brown right now. So
right.
Tyler Johnson was going to be my DFS cheat code because he would be the third receiver. But if Brady is going to do what you think he's going to do, then I'm going to have to go Gronk. Because who's he going to throw? You know what I mean? Like, who's he going to throw those touchdowns? Think of
that. Yeah, no, that's
and Gronk. It's a Gronk
genius.
revenge game too. Like, how are you going to pump Brady and not even mention Gronk once? Like, this is the Gronk revenge game. What?
I'm just obsessed with Brady. Still think he has a chance to break Peyton Manning's record for passing touchdowns in a season. But how did I even overlook that? Yes, Brady to Gronk for like at least 2 touchdowns is like the perfect.
This is the Gronk revenge game. Yeah.
To go, yes, absolutely. I can get behind that 100%. So Brady Gronk stacks all day, baby.
Love it. Okay, last game, Raiders Chargers. What's our prop?
Ooh, we have to go with Derek Carr passing yards here. He is such a tough projection, not gonna lie, but PrizePicks, they've been kind enough to have a line on him right now, and it's 294.5. And honestly, it's hard to argue with this. I think that's a pretty good line. I'm still projecting. I'm being a little bit conservative with like 285 right now, but I'm just not going to touch this because he's hard to get a handle on. It reminds me of Josh Allen last year, where we kind of had to adjust quickly off of our priors heading into the season. Derek Carr's kind of that guy for me right now, but where are you on this? Where do you have him projected? Are you going
I'm
over
at
or under
296, which feels disgusting.
It does feel disgusting, right? But this is a good line.
Yeah, no, again, like that's why we have these models and we have our regression to the mean. It's like you have to be able to adjust for what we've seen. And yeah, it's only 3 games, but it's not like we're projecting him for 350 or whatever he's at. Like, what is he averaging? Like 400 pretty
right
much.
Around there. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got 1202 passing yards this season, 1203. So yeah, he's 401 yards. We're not projecting him for that, but he looks good. The receivers are playing better. Ruggs, Edwards, Renfro's, he's not just third in Renfro anymore. He's every down Renfro now.
Yeah. He's not just throwing to Waller every chance he can get it either. He's spreading it around. Yep. So he has guys at every level. We've been kind of bagging on Ruggs here or there. And he's looked really good the past couple of games. So that's helped Carr out. They can't really run the ball right now. I know Peyton Barber had a good game, but I think that's kind of going into it, is the offensive line with Incognito out. Like they've just opted to just go pass heavy, and it's working. They're 3-0. So that's why I think they're just going to stick with it. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for over 300 again here. I just can't bring myself to take the over, but I think this is probably the perfect line, 294.5.
Yeah, and we know there's going to be some regression just because they played in 2 overtime games. But this is another close spread.
Yeah, true.
And didn't this game go to like an overtime, or it was really close on primetime last year, Raiders Chargers. So it's kind of right in line with it happening again. What's the cheat code? Who's your cheat code for this game?
Cheat code, just out of all of the players in this game. So my point is, you can go with Carr, any of the receivers, Waller or Herbert, Eckler, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. Obviously, all those plays are obvious. But when it comes to like a showdown slate, single game slate, Jared Cook, baby. I think, he's been under the radar with his 3 catch for 30 yards and no touchdowns, but I could easily see the Raiders overcommitting to my boy Mike Williams, who I have in like a ton of leagues, and he's wide receiver 12. I'm super high on him again this week, but like Jared Cook could just sneak in a 5 catch, 60-yard touchdown game here. And I think the market will be overlooking him. So that's why he's my cheat code. He's just maximum leverage against all these other awesome guys that I certainly will be playing here. Just Jared Cook is the cheat code in this matchup, I think.
Yeah, he's my tight end 10, which actually scares me because
well, it's just the tight ends have been so bad that it doesn't take much to be there. I'm right there with you though.
But it is that single high Gus Bradley, which is not good. Like that's the matchup. That's kind of the like where, you know what I mean? Where Tyler Higbee went like not off when he went like 1 catch. So like there's a low floor. So yeah, he's perfect for like a showdown slate. Like he's got upside. He's got a touchdown overturned, I believe. So he's could have had more. He's got a few plays. Like Chargers commit so many penalties on offense. It's actually absurd. So yeah, that is gonna do it for this week's Week 4 matchup pod on the Fantasy Flex presented by PrizePicks. You can find Sean on Twitter at @the_oddsmaker. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Raybon. You can find us by those same handles in the Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this money.